Hello, filmmakers, and welcome to the Wedding Film School Show, a podcast dedicated to the craft, business, and personal aspect of running a wedding film brand. The Wedding Film School Show is hosted by myself, Jared Haskell, and my longtime business partner, Jason McCutcheon. If you're looking for free resources or to get your wedding film business off the ground, make sure to check out weddingfilm.school or check us out on Instagram for news, giveaways, and more. Hey everyone, welcome back. We have another great episode with you today. Jason, how are we doing?
Doing so good. How are you?
Good. I'm really excited about today's topic because I think it's going to be pretty fun and hopefully interesting. It's something that we've never talked about on the show.
Yes. I was thinking about it. I think we talked about it in terms of the pandemic years ago, but that was very specific to that. But I don't think we've ever talked about this topic, which is refunds and when should you be giving them, when shouldn't you be giving them. But we wanted to do it in a little bit of a different way. So tell everybody what we're going to do today.
Yeah. So today, for the first time, we're going to debut a brand new game that we created today. It's called I messed it up. Dang it. It's called Refund Roulette. And Jason is going to be our only contestant today. I'm, of course, the host of our show. And so we're going to be going through a lot of different scenarios of, maybe ones that we've seen on Facebook groups, maybe ones that we've actually gone through ourselves. I'm not going to dive into the specific ones that we've gone through ourselves, but you can probably gauge based on how detailed they are.
I'm going to try to not react.
And how ridiculous maybe some of them are. And maybe just talk through how we handled the refund conversation.
Yeah, so the basic is you're going to give me a scenario, and I'm going to say, would I do a refund or not?
Yes.
And then maybe a little bit of why or why not.
The rules of the game is quite simple and open-ended. So,
and we think it's important because we're not going to talk a ton about this because honestly, it's talk to a lawyer, but everyone needs a refund policy, right? And everyone needs to know what they will refund and what they won't refund. And then finally, there's a difference between what you have to refund and what you're choosing to refund for a lot of other reasons. And so that's why we thought it'd be good to talk about, especially in this manner, because I think it is complex, right? Because, you remember years ago, obviously there's more going on with Copper Stallion Media than just that they didn't refund this person whose spouse tragically died. But the irony is, when I looked at it, I was like, he doesn't have to refund that money.
Right. And this is a really important point that you're making is you have your contract, which hopefully will protect you in a lot of cases, maybe not in all cases, especially if you're someone who writes your own contract. But our lawyer has always said, you can pretty much put down anything you want.
Yeah, if someone signs the agreement.
If someone signs to it, then you at least have an argument.
Yeah, and all a contract does is keep you from getting sued.
Right.
It's not that the person can't make your life hell.
Yes. And so
actually they can still sue you. It's like, will you win in court? Yeah.
And so a lot of this conversation isn't going to go into really like the legal side of things. Like Jason said, talk to your lawyer if you want to know about like the law. What we actually want to talk about probably goes beyond the contract, because even in some cases where we're right, we're 100% right. It's in our contract. They signed up for it. It's in the contract. We talked to them about it beforehand. We said, this is the law. This is what we do in our contract. I might still give someone a refund depending on the circumstance.
Yes.
Which is why, just for PR reasons, just for your own sanity reasons, for financial reasons.
You just want to because you feel like it's the right thing to do.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, that's kind of how we're going to approach it, is what we would do as business owners, not what we legally have to do.
Yeah.
I might make a few notes. Certain things I might say, well, I don't have to, but here's what I would do.
Hey guys, Bobby popping in quick to let you know that this episode of the podcast was brought to you by Tamron. Providing filmmakers with the perfect mix of performance and value, Tamron has every type of lens to fit your needs. With their moisture-resistant construction, close focusing abilities, 6-year warranty, and remarkable optical performance, Tamron lenses can help you upgrade your wedding films. I know I personally keep the 28-75 2.8 in my bag, and I often reach for it on a wedding day. So send them some love for making this episode possible. Check out some of their lens options in our gear link below or at www.tamron-americas.com.
With that in mind, what's our very first scenario? Tell me about it.
All right. So the first refund roulette question is Would you give a refund when people break up? Softball one. Start you off with.
No, I would never do that. They're not my client anymore. What does that have to do with me?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I've had this happen probably the most.
I've seen it in Facebook groups.
Probably the most. People
Really? We've had this happen a lot?
I would say it happens 2 to 3 times a year.
This is how important it is. You've never told me once.
Well, it's just easy. And I think a lot of
They
people...
ask for a refund?
So this is how they ask. They don't come out and ask. I've been on the phone with a mother and a father of the bride who's heartbroken. Because understandably so. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just like disparaging the poor bride
No.
who had her doctor fiance leave her and never even talk to her ever again. I've had parents call me, try to not guilt trip me, but just like,
Now I want to go back and watch these films.
is there anything that we can do? No. This is before the wedding happened.
Oh, before the wedding.
Before the wedding. I should have clarified. Before the wedding, they break up. Am I going to refund them the deposit? Am I going to refund them a portion of the deposit?
So let me rephrase then.
Yes.
Maybe. It depends on how close to the wedding. So if it's within 30 days, I probably would say, listen, we're definitely not going to make you pay the full thing, but like we just can't do it. The money spent, because like for instance, like I might have a contractor who turned down 5 dates. I'm still going to pay that guy.
Okay.
For that day, because that's not right to promise income to someone and then remove it because of something out of everyone's control. I might negotiate. Maybe I go down a little. Maybe I do a partial refund. I definitely, now if it's way in advance and I know I'm going to rebook that, I would definitely refund it.
Yeah, I probably agree with you 100%. This is a really interesting podcast where we have 2 hosts that probably agree with each other on everything, which will be the case because we're business partners and we've talked through.
Well, and we
a lot
both
of these
have the similar ethical theory of treating people the right way and also avoiding conflict.
Yeah, I think you're right. In this case, I was talking to them 2 months before the wedding. And it's like, I'm probably not going to rebook that date. And what I told them was, if we rebook it, I will 100% refund you 100% of your deposit.
Yes.
Easily, I'll let you know. We didn't in that case, so we took the refund. Here's where it gets a little bit.
You took the deposit.
We took the deposit, and we didn't have to film the wedding. Because at that point, it's just you're literally retaining the day. They retain the date, and then they canceled on us. So that's what a retainer is, right? Whatever you set it out to be, and there's a lot of different schools of thoughts on how much your retainer should be.
Well, this is why some people would suggest your retainer should be less than 50% because it means you have to return less. I think if I'm willing to just say no to people, so it's like if you're not willing to say no to people, if you hate that, but like anyway.
And I think most people are pretty understandable that you can't refund them at least a few months before the wedding for a couple of reasons. One is they understand the concept of a retainer. Most people that we work with. But then also, it gets really messy. And here's how. The groom who left could have been the person. The reason why all this is happening, that guy could have been the one that paid for it. So it's like, who paid for it? Like, the groom paid for it, and now I'm just paying the bride $3,000. It gets messy. Like,
yeah, I mean, he paid half of it.
Right.
I mean, who knows? I heard a story about this. Exactly that.
Okay.
I heard a story about a guy who broke up with his girlfriend, but before he broke up with her, a wedding planner told me this, called all the vendors.
Got all the money.
And no, he didn't get the money. Asked them all for refunds. And then they started going like, what's up? And they found out that he hadn't even told the bride yet.
Wow.
So hence, maybe why you don't refund this money.
Right. Right.
Because the guy is literally like using this refund as a way to get out of the marriage.
Yeah.
And maybe like
steal money from her if she was the one that paid for all of it too.
I think it is important with everything to know that you don't know what's going on.
Yes.
And it's none of your business. And I don't want to know. And in some ways, the less you know, the better. And I would encourage you, like, if you get these calls, don't ask questions. Like, don't say what happened and all that junk. Like, keep it. Let them offer whatever they offer, but don't make it seem like that if they give you more information that it will change what you do.
Yeah.
Because I think for you as a business owner, you're not being fair. You're being emotional and you're not being thoughtful. And that's when you can start doing things that I gave this person a refund and not this person because they didn't make me cry as much, which is that's actually not fair.
Yeah.
So I think whatever you choose to do, you want to be fair. In our case, we would probably refund if we could. And if we couldn't, we wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. If I felt like I had a really sure idea that I was going to rebook it, I would probably give them a
exactly.
refund.
That's the
or you would just say, I think the state is going to that's probably a great approach. Even if it's 6 months ahead of time, 8 months ahead of time, tell them, I think this date, we're going to rebook this date. So as soon as we do, you get a check. And just, I think a lot of people can appreciate that. That way you're not taking all the risk because say you were going into 2024. We all thought 2024 was going to be this great year, and now people are not as busy. I think that, it kind of protects you a little bit to just be like, when I rebook it, you get a check kind of thing.
So what's the next one?
All right. Next one is, would you refund when people cancel due to financial issues?
No, not at all. Why would I ever do that?
Stock market, they're broke. You wouldn't feel bad for them?
No, I don't feel bad for them. I mean, we're all broke in the stock market.
Yeah.
I feel bad for everyone, in the world when things are going badly. Yes. But again, I'm a cynical person. So if someone calls me and is trying to get me to, they're trying to coerce me to do something, I think that they're lying to me. Or I can't dismiss that they could be lying. And so anytime someone calls you for a refund, you have to be principled. You can't be affected by that because this person could literally be lying. And there's no way of knowing. It's none of my business. I'm not going to ask them okay, are you lying? Or, Now, no, I wouldn't. I don't even get in. I wouldn't do it. To me, it's yeah, that sucks, man. Maybe you shouldn't have planned a gigantic wedding you can't afford. That's who else in the world is going to give money back? What if I called my credit card company and I said hey, I can't pay my bill this month. I shouldn't have went on that vacation. It's you already bought it. And you already bought my time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lesson learned, person. Sorry.
Yeah. And that's the way the world works, unfortunately, or fortunately. Yeah, which is your answer is kind of interesting going into my next question, next scenario. Would you refund someone when someone dies in the family? Because after all, you don't know who is lying to you, right? And not lying to you.
Are they still having the wedding?
Maybe they want to reschedule the wedding to another date.
I would have that discussion. If they're still doing the wedding, I would say no.
What if the bride died or the groom?
Ethically, I would refund the money. I would actually probably ask for proof.
Death certificate.
No, I would just say send me just send me an article or something send me something to prove that this person is not to be mean. I just need to know because people do try to scam us.
Yeah.
And it should be easy to prove. This is when people it's a legal thing. There's a lot of things that go into that.
Yeah.
Even though I know they might not like that, it's just they're thinking
they're asking
$5,000 on the line.
ton of money back. Yeah.
So
and at that point, they're not your client anymore. So what are you worried about? Customer service?
Well, and also they're gonna be mad at me. I'm giving them the money back.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably want to know, but I would want to do that. And if I was able to, I would really want to give them the money back, because that's just.
Well, this was the whole situation with Copper Stallion Media and kind of what.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
so if you don't know the story, this fiance, this man's fiance, tragically, I think it was a car accident, died. It was known that she died, and he said, "Hey, my fiance died, and can I get my money back?" Now, I actually think that family was kind of wrong. Their premise was essentially, "You terrible person, you're not giving me. You have to give me this money back." No, he doesn't. He doesn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Do I think this person is a monster for not giving them the money back? Yes. Do I think, and this is the side where I'm going to really hopefully help someone. I don't care if you don't care that that person died. I don't care if you go home and sleep perfectly fine and don't think about it at all. Because you're like, it's just a client. I don't know that person. They died. Like, there's a lot of people who die every day. You don't give money to everyone.
Yeah.
The cost for your business to be known as the company that doesn't give money back to, you can't afford to keep that money.
No.
If it's like $1 million maybe, but like it's not worth $5,000 to have that person make one Facebook post about you.
Right. And say you're somebody, maybe you're starting off, you get a $5,000 check. Big payday. You're starting off, I got this $5,000 check. I just bought a camera. I bought a lens with that $5,000 because I'm going to need it this summer to film the wedding.
Yeah, of course.
Now the client tragically passes away. You have a camera. You have a lens. You do not have cash on hand. That's how a majority of wedding filmmakers kind of operate their business, right?
Yes.
You don't have the money. I think there's a way out of that too.
Yes. You
don't get your money back. I spent it on cameras.
Just tell them you don't have the money right now and you'll give it to them later.
I don't have the money. This is what I'm doing. I think having an honest conversation with people and being like, I will get you the money back. I've used it to kind of build my business. Like we talked about, I'm building my business. I'm fairly new. People can understand all of that. Put together a plan, have an honest conversation. There's a way out if you're kind of like, I don't have the cash on hand.
Well, let me say one thing about that.
Sure.
I don't think it's reasonable to say, I'm going to keep all my retainers and not spend them. For most people, that will never be a reality.
Mm-hmm.
What I do think is responsible is make sure that you have at least one of your average retainers in cash at all times for refund reasons. You should never be running your business where you can't do one refund.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that yet, that's okay. But if you get $20,000 gross revenue as a business and your average sale is $2,000, make sure you keep $2,000 going into every season.
Yeah.
For a refund, for something to happen. Because we're going to get into a lot of reasons later, and some of them you might have to do a refund. And if you can't do a refund, then you get ready for your business to be over. Because imagine you actually screw up and then you can't refund someone. One of the things, we've been in situations where we've done refunds and we haven't really done anything wrong, but the refund keeps the situation from escalating. And the quick refund is even better. If it takes 6 months to get the person their money, the damage is probably already done. So anyway, no, I would not necessarily, I wouldn't write that in a contract, Jared. This person, if someone dies, we will give you your money back.
Right.
But I would do it because it's the right thing to do. And because the cost of, you don't even need to get ethical.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of doing it, not doing it. It's what is that? Christine Nolan, whatever, shot her dog.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's it doesn't matter what the scenario was. She should have never, she put that in her own book like an idiot, and everyone is going to hate her.
Yeah.
And it got out. Now everyone hates her, and her political career is probably over. And
don't mess with dogs in the U.S.
No,
man.
no. And just
not
don't
2024.
If you do something that the internet doesn't like, get ready for the cost. And it's that's an unforced error.
Yeah.
Right there. And it's not worth it's not worth $5. It's not even worth $10,000 to you. It's it's not worth the money.
Nope. Totally agree. Hard situations all around, but I think that's right. I think when I think about a contract specifically, it's speak quietly, but carry a big stick. Your big stick is your contract.
Yes.
So you can lay down the hammer if you have to, but be a good person and do what you can to just be likable.
Yeah, your goal is to keep the number one thing with contracts or with refunds is de-escalate.
That's it. Yeah. All right. Next one is: would you refund when you are sick and can't film the wedding?
Of course.
But you're sick. It's not your fault.
Well, it is my fault
because you didn't take emergency.
Because I didn't have a plan. Before. I have a plan. We would never be in that situation.
Right. That's
a competitive advantage I have over other people. Why? they should have to refund the money and give it to me, because I won't ever do that to a client. That is a benefit. Like, we sell that. We say to people, if we are sick, we have other options. So you should hire us and not that guy. So it's like, of course you should give the money back.
Yeah.
You're not rendering your services. Like, you would lose in court over that.
That's what I was going to say too. Like, this one is kind of one of those ones, again, not a lawyer. We're not law dog, but I think at the end of the day, if you did not show up to the wedding, even if it was in your contract that said, like, if I'm sick, like, I think that they could probably take you to court and beat you in some way, shape, or form. Of
course.
They would beat you.
Yeah, I would say, I don't think even the thing in the I'm trying to think of what you could put in the contract. Like, if you said, you have to pay me full rate, and this full rate is full, like, if you defined in the contract that the actual thing you were selling them was not any deliverable, which no one would do. I don't know. No, like, that's on you, dude. That's being professional.
And stuff like that happens a lot. You hear it happen a lot.
It's why you need in your contract, it needs to define that you don't have to shoot it.
Yep.
Even if you are a solo person and you hate teams and you think Jared and I are running a wedding mail, you need to be able to send an associate legally. And you cannot let yourself get in that situation. And this person might be pissed at you. Probably not, though. I think, like, they would be pissed that you don't have a backup plan. I don't think a person would be ticked off if you said, hey, I'm really sick, I'm vomiting everywhere, and I can't come to your wedding, and this person's going to come instead. Maybe they'd be a little disappointed, especially if you're like Jose Villa or some person they hired because of some personality-driven reason. I think most people would understand.
Yeah, they would be disappointed, but at the end of the day,
they wouldn't ask for their money back.
Yeah, you're sick, especially if you have something in your contract. This is maybe where you can navigate it a little bit, and I think we do something similar in ours. This is free tips, is writing in your contract, if something happens to the lead that you're assigned, we will do everything in our power to replace that person with a person of equal skill. Equal skill.
You're going to get what you paid for.
And if we are not able to replace them with a person like that, you will get a full refund of your money. That's actually in our contract. So yeah, I think that's the right way to do it. I see a lot of, birthing people have to go through this because every year you come across.
I've done enough work though with 8-month-old pregnant women who kill it to not feel that bad.
Yeah,
it's like,
but if they're literally in labor,
yes,
then
who was I? Oh, you remember what's her? Catherine. Her water broke at a wedding.
Yeah,
with some planners we know.
Yep.
And I mean, she had a second shooter who was really good. And luckily it was at the reception, so they
got through the majority of the day.
But it's like, this is just what we do, guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not on the client to accommodate for this. It's on. Yep. This is what it means to be a professional.
Yep.
If you don't have a plan for this, you're not professional.
Yeah. Next one. I like this one. Should you give a refund when you drone the venue and not the bride's house, when the bride wanted her house to be filmed on drone?
What if you drone the house, but it's too far away and they just don't like it?
Same vein of question.
And you're like, legally, you don't have to do it because you did do it? What of that, though? But anyway, I would say I would give them some money back because that's such a petty, ridiculous thing to say, in my opinion, that I think this person will escalate to infinity. And I'm afraid of them. And so I would give them the money back, because if people are willing to fight you on little things, they'll fight you on big things, and they'll push and they'll push and they'll push. And they're you got to understand it. If someone's calling you about certain things, they're mad. Like, they're not like calculating, thinking about like, I should get a refund. Mm-hmm. They're thinking, I'm mad about this and I want vengeance. Mm-hmm. I want to win. And they will try to end you. I think. I mean, that's just my view of people, is like, you could have had the best thing in the world, the best day, Everyone loves each other. You make the best film. You make one little mistake that a certain type of person catches. And there are people that just like do this to everyone. They get refunds all the time because they're scary. And I don't want to mess with those people. So I'm going to give them their money back. Now, not all of it. I would never give all the money back. I would say like, oh, what if I do like this, and this is the thing to do with refunds. Sometimes you give them additional stuff. Like, what if I give you this for free? Like, I would try to like see what I could do to make them happy. And I think that is the name of the game, right? Is can I turn this frown upside down?
Right.
Like, and like at the end of the day, maybe you can, maybe you can't. I would definitely not refund the whole of the money because I delivered the film,
This is I'll tell you, this is one of ours, which is, I think we handled it exactly the way that
I don't even know how we handled it. So.
The way that you said, we charge people for drone because we have Craig, our drone operator.
I saw the footage, by the way. He did shoot the house. It wasn't good, but
far away.
Yes,
but also, I mean, it was just a communication error, and I would say a majority of the blame was on the client, but we still refunded them because
the actual thing that actually happened, Jared, is when I ran their address, it put a dot in the wrong place. And so he flew the dot, but actually it wasn't the house. And so this is like, I'm not making excuses, but it's like
the fact that they asked for a refund is actually ridiculous because what happened was we give people 3 options when we're flying a drone. If it's going to rain, we'll contact them the day before. Say, hey, it looks like it's going to rain. 3 different options. You can cancel. We'll give you a full refund. So we don't have to send Craig out. Don't worry about it. Skin off your back. Like, I know we have a retainer, everything you've already paid. We'll give you a full refund. Or we could show up and we could try to shoot. And if we're able to shoot, great. No skin off the back. If we can't shoot, if we can't fly the drone due to rain,
day, whatever.
we'll give you 50% refund. Because he went out there, he's sitting, he's waiting, he's still spending his time. But we're not able to collect the actual footage. That's fair, I think, to people. And then the third option is we'll just come back later in the week. We'll film whatever.
We'll add it to your film.
We'll add it to your film, some of the area. In this case, they were actually having the ceremony in their backyard. So she had told the lead videographer, not even the drone operator. She was like, I think even day of, like, oh, it'd be really great if they were able to capture the house. She never mentioned it on her pre-document that went through all of these things. She was like, oh, are you able to film the surrounding area on drone?
This is a key
she just
thing,
said
right?
Surrounding area. So in my mind, we checked off like 3 boxes with this person to be like, hey, we film in our contract. It says we film the venue and the surrounding area. And then in a follow-up email, venue and surrounding area. She changed it talking to the shooter.
She did not write in writing anywhere.
Anywhere.
My house.
Anywhere. So legally, we could have slam dunked on her and been like, I stated it to you 3 times exactly what we do. And then we came back later in the week and filmed exactly what we say we're going to do, the venue and the surrounding area. Like if there's a lighthouse nearby, I'm going to film that area, blah, 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 blah. I wasn't aware that I'm even supposed to tell the drone shooter
we
to
actually
film the house.
typically don't let clients tell us what to fly drone over.
Yeah, and me neither.
For this exact reason.
And so she had originally said, oh, it'd be really great when she was talking to the lead filmmaker. It would be really great if you could film some drone of our ceremony at our house. That is the most input. So I think doing it on a different day, we were just like, oh, the ceremony's not happening there anymore. We'll just do the venue and the surrounding area because the ceremony's not happening at their house.
He didn't do it on the same day.
Not on the same day because it rained on that day. So we went back later in the week to film it.
That's
and
even worse.
This person, so regardless.
No offense, ex-client, but you're crazy.
You're out of your mind. And I don't mind saying so.
But also, we gave her some money back.
We gave her, so what I said was, okay, we have the drone. We can either remove all your drone coverage and we'll give you a full refund. Like, because that's fair, right? And she was like, oh, I don't want that. It's like, oh, so you did appreciate the drone that we got, you liar. I knew you. And so she paid us, I think, like, It covered our cost to have Craig go out there and shoot it. I didn't make profit on it.
This is the whole
it's
point,
a win-win
though.
for
This
me.
person doesn't need the money. This is the thing you need to keep in mind. They want to win.
Yes.
They're mad and they want to win. And so if you could make them feel like they win, then you win.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So that's how we dealt with that scenario, because I thought this person was wrong and crazy. But at the end of the day, I didn't want to deal with it. So I found a win-win for both of us, and I don't care about $200 at the end of the day to make it go away and make someone, semi-happy.
What's the most you would have refunded to make her go away?
$250. That was my limit. She would have had to pay. Yeah.
I mean, she has no legal recourse.
Yeah,
and here's the thing to keep in mind too.
We actually did everything we said we were going to do.
Yes.
And went out of our way by asking her 3 times and restating things.
And she had multiple places to say, is there anything specific you want? It's literally in writing, and she didn't write it.
Exactly. So,
But it's always the person who refuses to read anything that has these issues, by the way.
yeah.
The thing to keep in mind, though, is like, have an idea in mind of what you're willing to do for someone, and don't start there. Start with somewhere to go up. So that way that person they feel like they're like winning the engagement. But at the end of the day too, it's like, we're not going to do it at all cost.
One of my favorite things to do is give people 2 choices.
Yes.
Then it's not me saying this is the rule. It's here's what I can do. I could do this or I could do this. It's honestly the same way you deal with, I have a toddler or a child that's 3 years old. The same thing. It's like, I want a cookie. Be like, well, do you want to eat this celery or do you want to eat this apple? That's what I have, celery, apple. They can make a decision, but it's not the cookie at the end.
Well, and also I have a rule, like, with very few exceptions, never say no. Always say,
exactly.
Here's what I can do.
Yes.
And it's just semantics, I know.
Yeah.
But I think it feels better to people when you're like, yes, I'll do what you want.
Way less confrontational. Like, we do the same thing with our packages up front. Yesterday I talked to a bride and she was like, I love your work with Stop Go Love. It's just I can't afford it. But also I don't like the work as much for Merriment. It's good, but I don't like it as much for Merriment Films.
I don't like
but it's in my price range.
$5,000 cheaper as much, and I like them. I like the.
I was like, well, I would hope so.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point of creating another brand. Like,
it's interesting that you like the more expensive. It's like
it's like I did it on purpose, completely and 100%, and you're just getting it. This is not what I wanted. But yeah, giving people choices, they always appreciate that, because then it's like, I'm not the bad guy. They're the bad guy either way. Like, either they're paying for a product that they didn't really want as much, or they're having to pay out of their pocket.
Well, at the end of the day,
it's
not
compromise.
Anyone's good or bad. It's just life. You have limitations.
Yep. All right, so let's move on, because we have a few more.
Yeah, let's do these.
Refund roulette. Let me see. Will you refund the customer if the customer doesn't like the film?
No.
Okay.
Why? Do they not like it?
Because it wasn't as good as their portfolio on the website.
Edit it. I would re-edit it.
What happens if you re-edit it a second time and they don't like it a second time?
Why?
Because it's not as good. We just think you suck. We saw your work online, and we thought it was way better.
So
it's subjective. It's subjective and gray.
In all honesty, then I would enter into the subjective fray, and I would not talk to the person, but I would watch it, and I would be honest with myself. Is this person have a point? And I think that's always a good way to start. Is if someone's calling you, like, are they being irrational or do they have a point? Now, is it bad because they are not attractive and their house that they got married at is disgusting and there's a bunch and everyone's a slob and there's trash everywhere and
the water bottles that they're getting ready?
Yeah. Like, is it why don't, like, if I watch it, I'm like, this person functionally shot the exact same way, but you're the problem? Am I going to call this person and be like, yeah, maybe if you weren't so fat and ugly, like, you would be a better film? Like, no, we're not going to have those conversations and blame the client or anything. But I'm definitely not going to. I would be very, very, very hesitant to admit that they were right. I'll tell you that, like, because that becomes a legal thing. Mm-hmm. If I say in writing, you're right, this film is not as good, even if I thought they were right, I would never write that.
Yeah.
I would say if I watched the film and I was like, dang, we didn't hit the mark here. this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I would never do a full refund
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to lose money on a gig. Right? And I think, like, I'm not going to lose cost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what I would give them is my profit. So know your numbers, people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, listen, I'm willing to give you, hey, $2,000 back. Like, and it's mainly the shooting. Like, if it was the editing I thought was the problem, like, say this is the maybe they go, oh, we hate this one. And what they really are saying is they're trying to get you to make a 12-minute film instead of a 4-minute film that they paid for. Internally, we'd be like, this person is crazy. We hate this person.
Mm-hmm.
To that person, we might try to get them to say that, and we might just do it.
Yeah, because I've gotten a lot of people to admit, honestly, we just didn't read what we were buying.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought we were getting something else. I thought I was getting a video similar to
My dad got in 1975.
Yeah, that's what we thought we were getting, even though on your website
or the
it
grandma
says this.
bought, like the mother bought it,
Exactly.
and then the daughter sees it,
Yeah.
or the
bride buys it, and the mother has an
hates it.
opinion.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah. A lot of that stuff can happen. We had one bride last year, and it happens to us guys. I mean, I had one bride last year who watched the film and was like, "The music is really cheesy." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Okay, let me go watch it." Because sometimes I might agree with somebody. Like, I'll be like, "Oh, Caleb, why did you pick this song? Like, I hate this song too. Like, it's wicked annoying." This song, I was like, it's like a Tim Halperin song off in the music bed, like generic, like good. I think in a lot of cases, but also
It didn't match them.
It didn't match them, or she didn't vibe with it, which always kind of makes me upset because, like, at the end of the day, we do a lot to make sure people love their films up front
and understand their
whole
taste in
process.
music.
Yeah, and it's so rare that this happens. But I was like, we're just gonna re-edit it for you. Like, now you have to go in. Here's a link. You have to go and pick your
How
own
long
music.
did this take?
Actually, she did it pretty quickly.
Oh, didn't we have one that took like 4 months?
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, I have people just disappear. I'm like, all right, pick your song, and then I never hear from them ever again because they're like, oh, yeah, I have to do work. Never mind. It's great. I love it. But yeah, this person picked the song, and we edited it, and we just sent it out, I think, last week. This is and by the way, she did wait about 6 months to tell us that she didn't like the song. But regardless, we're going to make people happy. Haven't heard back from this person, but if she came back and was like, I want a refund, I would probably say, no, we did a great job. I know. And this is where it's kind of helpful to have a team is like, I think that the work that the team puts out is great. You and I will come in and be like, change this. But we're going to be even more picky than most of our clients will be because we're filmmakers and we can be critical. You do a weekly or a weekly live show here on Wedding Film School critiquing wedding films. I think we know a thing or two about what makes a good wedding film.
Well, and also how good could this film even be?
Yeah,
based on the assets,
the
which
day,
is like the people,
what package you got,
the
right?
Time, all that stuff,
all these things. So, I would probably say no, we can't. Like. Because I think we delivered on everything.
Okay, so let me.
And you're just trying to get a. You probably downloaded the video. Now you're trying to get a full refund.
Let me throw
I just
you
don't
this.
trust you.
Let me throw you this. We'll talk about not talking about people's personal appearance, right? But talking about things that go into people's weddings. I was watching the film and it just didn't feel an emotional impact. It was a very romantic day, and it doesn't feel romantic. And so you go, okay. You go watch it. You're like, I don't know what she means by that. And eventually you figure out that in her mind, she had a bunch of great toasts and all this great stuff that is actually terrible. Now, obviously, you put it in. She still doesn't like it. But in her mind, remembering it, it was great. Mm-hmm. But it actually wasn't great. Like, those are the things that I think can happen sometimes where, like, you're dealing with people's perception of their wedding day versus what actually happened. And when you're editing, you're dealing with just what happened. And like the guy gets up and the guy's drunk and he's not speaking well and there's ums and ahs and all kinds of stuff like that, and the choices we make. I would just put it like, if they're like, my father gave a great speech and it's actually horrible, you see that all the time. Like, should I put it in? Yes, put it in. Just put it in the film and make them go away. Like, just put the father's speech in. It's their wedding film. What do you care?
We had that happen this year with the dad, and we shot like the brother's wedding in like February, and then the daughter's wedding in like later in the year. And the dad at the second wedding was like, "You didn't put me in the video," and we were like, "Oh, why didn't we?" And then we went back.
It was even more awkward, actually. It was at a rehearsal dinner.
Yeah.
And there were 2 people outside. So I went outside. I'm just filming through the windows, like people having I didn't realize who it was. It was the dad and like I think an uncle.
Yeah.
And he sees me filming, and I shot the other family member's wedding.
Yeah.
So he's kind of assuming I edited it, which I did not.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, this time, put my speech in the film."
You didn't include me at all.
And I was like, what? I'm like shooting. I'm shooting this wedding. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then I have to be like, pretend like I know who he is.
Yeah.
I have no idea who this guy was at the
Yeah.
moment I come inside. I'm like, I think that was the dad. I'm like,
Yeah.
did we not do that?
Yeah.
And then like everyone's embarrassed because they found out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And so the next day at the wedding, you better believe we had 4 cameras on Dad's speech, and Dad's like, fumbling through some words, and we're like, "Oh no, we have to include this in the film."
But you know what we did?
We included it in the film. We put it together, and it actually turned out really
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, there was a good parts and stuff.
Yeah.
We included it, and it's like, because at the end of the day, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about them. So.
Yeah, exactly. We want to make people happy. So, all right, the next one. Would you refund people, or did you refund people when COVID happened?
No.
Well, you're a really mean person who
No,
doesn't
I'm
care
not.
about the world.
I mean, I don't care about all that stuff because I'm going through it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if only that person had COVID, maybe I would refund it.
Mm-hmm.
But since all of us, we're all affected, like we can't. Like that is why you don't do the refunds. That exact scenario is
'Cause
catastrophe.
It would
crisis.
put you completely out of business immediately.
Yes. And I would try to work with the person best I could.
Mm-hmm.
Our stance on the whole thing was A, I don't have to. B, you can still get married. It's not illegal. So if you want me to come and shoot your thing, I will shoot your thing, whatever it is that you have. You're just mad that you can't have this big fancy party.
Right.
So do I have sympathy for people who have such a low view of marriage that they are only going to do it if they can impress anyone? No, I have zero sympathy for that stance. And so if you want me to document your wedding at the courthouse in your backyard, which many people did, many people just had us go do that. And we were happy to do it. And, I'm brave enough to do it, Jared. I have enough courage to brave COVID-19 and shoot your wedding. So I'm willing to risk my life to shoot your wedding, and you still want money back? I'm a hero.
Yeah.
Or am I a villain? I don't know.
Spoken like a true super spreader.
So I was like, no, I'm not going to give them their money back because everyone's in the situation. And are they asking for every single person? Like what about the lawn guy who's doing their lawn? And if he doesn't, it's just like it just was a big scam on so many people, and like poor people who didn't understand what was about to happen to them fell for it.
Yeah. Yeah. What we did in most cases was just reschedule. And I think that's where most people kind of fell. Some people might have been upset because it bound them to still having to plan a wedding for another year, but that's the exchange, man. Like, to me, it was just like, look, like, yes, if I give you your money back, you're just probably gonna.
You already told me you don't care about money, though. Like you already communicated. I'm so rich that I can spend $100,000 on one day, and I'm gonna feel bad. No, I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Like I would feel bad if I didn't do what I said.
And I would feel bad if I wasn't able to pay my staff through
That
COVID.
would be worse.
Right?
Like a person who can't afford $100,000 wedding,
Right.
Including myself, by the way.
Right. That's why I felt, because it wasn't just about me. Like, we're in a unique situation. We have a unique business that, employs full-time staff. And so it wasn't even about like me being greedy. Like, it was just like literally survival of my team, like
It's not
putting
greed.
food in their pantry. So, and that's just running a responsible business.
It's very much not greed. If you think it's greed to get paid to do the thing that you said, then you just don't understand anything.
Yep. All right. Would you give a refund if you were late for the event?
Maybe partial. How late?
And for what reason?
And what did I miss?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I showed up late to getting ready, no. But like 5 minutes late, that's late.
Mm-hmm.
Later than I said. Later, like, okay, here's the key. The key is like, A, did I catch everything? B, did I stay for the amount of coverage that I stayed? Now, if I was late, we would never get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I would say, A, I would never be late, and I've never been late in many years of doing it. One time I was almost late, though, but because there was a car accident on a bridge, and I was stuck on a bridge.
That Cape traffic, man.
No, it was
Summertime.
Newport.
Oof.
It was Newport.
Yep. Bridge traffic.
There was a car accident on the Newport Bridge, and I was stuck.
Yep.
But I wasn't late. I was like on time, which to me feels late. But regardless, it's like, no, I probably wouldn't. Now, here's the deal. If there was a meaningful impact in the film, I would at least do a partial thing, but I would probably not even get to that point, because if I was late, I would address it right away. I would say, hey, listen, I'm going to stay an extra hour, or like I would try to get them to tell me something that they would want.
Yep.
I can't imagine, like, I don't really even speak to the people for the first hour and a half very much, except for hi. I don't even know that they would even know. And if they don't know and they don't, like, here's what I will say. Don't call it out.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, everyone, sorry I was late.
Like
10 minutes late. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like if you're going to be late and you're going to miss something, then you should send a text message. What do I think about that?
To the bride?
Yeah, I don't know. Definitely a planner. Oh, definitely tell a wedding planner. This is my only thought here, is I'm thinking of the psychology of this person who's trying to enjoy their day. Mm-hmm. And if I send that to them and they would have otherwise not cared, but now they're going to be upset on their wedding day. Yeah. Man, that's tricky.
Yeah. And it's always, I mean, arrival time for us has always very intentionally been pretty ambiguous. Like, It's like, I'm going to get to the property around 1-ish, you know? So it's not exact timing. Our packages aren't 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours. It's 6 to 10 hours. So really, whatever, you know, it's a little gray, it's a little blurred around the edges, very intentionally. So if stuff does happen, and say we're even a half an hour late, like I'll even tell people, we're going to arrive, we'll probably be up around this time. We're going to show up, we're going to film around the property, we're going to shoot some B-roll. So even if you are late, they just assume you're out shooting B-roll or whatever it is.
I think the key is like sometimes I've heard people say I'm late, and like they're literally late for the ceremony. Mm-hmm. If I was late for someone's wedding ceremony, I would return all the money.
Yes. And still deliver something to them?
Yes. Yeah. I think like that's a really bad mistake.
Yes. Yep.
Like being late for someone's hair and makeup, it's not professional, but at the end of the day, it might not affect the film at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you start affecting the film, that's when it's on you.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah. That's the thing. I'm with you. I think if you're late for any main events, I would probably still deliver the film and give them a full refund, just because I wouldn't want a bad review. And if I give, this is a big part of it too, guys. If you're giving someone a full refund, I almost expect them to sign a I'm not going to give you bad reviews agreement. Maybe someone can disagree with me morally.
No. I think it's perfectly reasonable to pay people hush money.
Okay, Trump.
Yeah. Paying people money to not say anything is gross. Yeah. And some people don't like it. Yeah. But I think in this case, it's an exchange, right? It's like, I'm going to give you this money back. You don't destroy me.
Right.
And I think it's actually just smart.
Yep.
And like but you do need to be very careful. Like, because what's gross, it's not gross to say, hey, I would appreciate it if you wouldn't write a bad review. Mm-hmm. That's just being human being. It is gross to start coercing them, and there's a way to present it. You need to be really careful if you drop the ball that you're not doing the asks. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, hey, listen, this would mean a lot to us if, and like kind of like approaching it from a humble standpoint, because you dropped the ball, you blew it.
Yeah.
And they could say no.
Yeah.
And this is where I think, like, I don't have a ton of teeth. You're asking for a favor. Because I think that person could say, I want my money back and I'm going to write a bad review. I did that to someone.
Yeah.
It was a hotel. And I said, listen, I'm not going to do it, though, because I'm not going to retract my review because I want people to not book you. Because that's the right thing to do, is to help other people not make a dumb decision. And it's like that person has that right to make that choice. And so I do think, like,
But if they said, we will refund you, we're going to refund you, of course, here's our refund agreement. You wouldn't sign it? You would refuse it?
I did refuse it.
You refused it, and you refused money, too.
Yes.
And you wrote a review.
Yes.
Good for you.
It was a hotel. It was a bad experience, and I want them to suffer.
Sure. And that's a decision the customer should be able to make.
Yes. 100%.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
that is like, I think you need to keep that in your mind
Yes.
when you're asking them to do something for you. As long as you approach it with like, please, and thank you,
Yeah.
and I'll give you the money back. Like, it's tough to tie them together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I would have a hard time like actually holding to my guns on, I'm not going to give you a refund if you don't sign this. I think that would be a little.
Yeah, I don't think it ever even has to come to that. It's
It
just
shouldn't
like,
come to
hey,
that.
I'm happy to give you a refund. Here's our refund agreement. As soon as I get that back from you, we'll give you the money right away, kind of thing.
Yeah, and just saying like, listen, I know this didn't.
It's
go
only
the way
effective
want,
once you get
but,
some
like,
money kind
Would
of
you
thing.
would you mind signing this or like just presenting it to like?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's. But the reason why you have that is because there are times where you're like, I'm not going to tell you, but I think you're nuts. And if you write a bad review about me, I will destroy you. And I don't want to have that public fight. And that's why it is important to have like a non-disparagement clause
Yep.
in any kind of refund, because there are times where they're right. Most of the time, the client's wrong. And you still do it. And what you don't want it to be is, this is an admission of guilt by giving you the money back. It's like, no, it's not. I'm not going to say that to you, but this non-disparagement clause in here, that's where I'm not admitting any fault. And I'm actually saying, like, I'm choosing to give you this money back, but you better not go out there, because if you do, I'm going to come out guns a-blazing.
I must sue you.
Yeah, I might sue you.
Yeah.
I might sue you. Or I'm definitely going to like be like, this bride is wrong, and it's messy for all of us, so let's not get into that.
Right.
You know, so.
No. Two more. Would you refund a client when the client didn't understand what they were buying?
Depends on why. In our case, no. In other people's case, maybe. Maybe not a full refund. I probably would try to not refund it. I'd probably see if I could get them what they wanted. That's the first go-to.
That's my initial thought as well.
And I would learn something. I would I would evaluate my process, evaluate my package presentations, evaluate my sales calls, go through writing. But like, let's assume you go through all your writing, right? You look at your website, you look at all these things, and you're like, no, this was clear. And I still can't do what they want. Like, they're like, well, where's their interviews? Like, I thought you were going to interview people on the dance floor, and they never said that they wanted that.
You don't have any marketing material, anything on your website.
There's no reason they should have expected that. They just say, like, my cousin's video has it, and I like it.
My wedding in 1985 had it too.
Yeah,
so.
or the mom bought it, and she thought.
And it's a great product, and you should have it because it's great, and we love ours.
Well, somebody said that to me. They said, do you ever do interviews? I'm outside at a wedding, and it was like a really long day, so there's nothing going on. Instead of standing in front of people at the reception, I was like, I'm going to go outside because it feels awkward. So I go outside, and there's this lady smoking. And a bunch of people.
And you joined her.
Yeah, of course. And she goes like, she's like, what did she say? She said, one lady said something like, was like trying to like flirt with me. And then I was like, said something like, I'm married. And she's like, your wife's not here. And I was like, oh, well, I'm still not. But in that same conversation, somebody's like, do you guys ever do like interviews and all that stuff? And I was like, no, we don't do that. She goes, you should. People love that.
At my first wedding.
Yeah, people love that. And I was like, this is not a guess. I don't even know who this person was. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just told her, I'm like, I don't like it, so I'm not going to do it. But it's like, you don't have to make what you don't like. And if the person is being unreasonable in that way, then I don't know, like, sorry.
Yeah.
like, but I think the key thing is always like, why did this person not understand?
I find a majority of the time what happens to us in this kind of world is we talked about it a little bit beforehand. Bride talks to me, wants a very modern wedding film, 5
totally
to 6 minute
understands
highlight,
it, right?
Totally gets it. And then when it comes to the mom's like, where's this? Where's this? And the bride just totally throws us under the bus. Like,
yes.
Not even intentionally, but she does. And she just says something like, well, I don't know what she doesn't care about, like, if we deliver the raw footage. She doesn't care about it. But the mom cares about raw footage because she got raw footage. She got it all on tape. Why can't I watch it all on one long video, all of the raw footage? Well, we don't do that because that's a silly thing to even ask for. She doesn't know that.
Well, you should have never even expected it.
Right. And so when I get on the phone with mom, I just don't understand why you guys would do the raw footage in these clips. It's so hard for you to deal with. And she doesn't know, like, for me to do this, lady, it's the dumbest idea of all time, first of all. But it takes so much time for you to edit some dumb thing that no one will ever watch.
Yes.
And I'm going to have to charge you more money. You already think I'm $5,000 more expensive than I should be. I'm going to have to charge you more. Like, it's just a clear misunderstanding of just like what is wedding video in general. And that's not my fault. But still, I'm always going to make mom happy. So if I can have the conversation, help her understand it, educate her a little bit more, even though I didn't even know there was a mother of the bride who was alive or even involved in any way, shape, or form when I took the consultation, we'll still go back in and just be like, what do you want? All right, I'm going to put this terrible thing together and maybe charge you, maybe give it to you for free.
Here's another situation related. Like, we recently shot a very, very high-end wedding, like over $1.5 million was the total budget for this wedding.
For wedding video.
Yes.
Yeah.
For one day.
Yeah.
I guess it was technically 2 days. But
Yeah. We were the highest wedding filmmakers ever paid.
we're done. We're actually retiring.
Yeah, that's why we're doing a podcast, not making any money.
But regardless, this we didn't speak to the couple at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very high executive in companies, and it was really funny because we never spoke to this person. Even the day of, he would barely speak to me. He wasn't like necessarily rude. It just was like clearly not a priority.
Mm-hmm.
And like afterwards, he starts asking for stuff. He's like, "Oh, I saw your film. It's really great, but do you have like an hour-long one?" So actually, he doesn't say that in the text. He goes, "Can I talk to you on the phone?" So I say, "Fine." So I get on the phone with this guy, and he starts like kind of expressing what he wants. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm listening. And like, this is why it's more not to blow people up, is why I'm bringing it up, and why not to be rude, and why not to, you don't want to piss anyone off, because he wasn't asking for anything for free.
Mm-hmm.
He actually ended up paying us, I think it was $5,000 or $6,000 extra dollars for more things.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can like play your cards right and you treat people the right way, day of, all of that, and you're just like, "Oh, we can do that for you." He's like, "Okay, great. Yeah, no, okay, just send me an invoice." Like, he wasn't asking for anything for free, but I think a lot of people get on these calls and they start apologizing. And they start being, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like, essentially, like, this person knows they got you then. Mm-hmm. And who knows, maybe he was going to pay you. And if you say, "I'm sorry that you didn't," he goes, "I don't have to pay this person. They think that they made a mistake."
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm just going to do it. I'm just like, that's what I would do, right? If I'm on the phone with you and you start apologizing for something that I didn't like, I'm not going to even offer you the money I was going to offer you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like, "No, we here's what we did, exactly what you bought," and the person's like, "Oh yeah," especially these people, he understands contracts and he knows.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, okay." It was no issue. He wasn't even really upset.
Yeah.
He just was like, "Can I have more?
Mm-hmm.
Can you do this too?"
Yeah.
And I think if you can kind of try to suss it out when these situations come up, are they upset? If so, why? Or do they just want more?
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume. And I'll say this too. This is conflict in general. Whenever you are about to have conflict with someone, get on the phone. Don't text. Don't email. First of all, you're putting in writing, which they can use against you in court.
Mm-hmm.
Technically conversations, but it's much harder. Second of all, tone of voice is big. Like if someone's mad, they will read everything you say as argumentative and defensive. Like if they're mad and they hear you and you sound apologetic and you sound humble, you'll disarm the situation so much better. And like once you start to see that conflict train coming down the line, and maybe it's not so much like, hey, like we had one a couple weeks ago. Love the film, really great. Can you please put these 2 shots of my mother in? I'm not going to get on a call for that.
Yeah.
I just was like, okay, yeah, send it over to the editors. We put it in. I don't even know if they even said thank you.
Done. Thanks.
It's over.
Done.
We're done.
Yep.
But it's like, don't assume they're mad until you hear them.
Yep. All right. I think we have one more.
Final one.
It's not probably the best, but it is another question. Will you refund when there is bad weather?
Why?
Let's clarify a little bit more. When there's bad weather and they're not able to have the event due to bad weather.
Like that had literally happened 3 or 4 years ago in Newport?
Yep. It's happened a few times.
I wouldn't. Because I think they're going to get married. But I would.
I think in most cases like this, it's an easy reschedule.
Yes.
It's always been a reschedule due to weather every single time. Now, I think legally, it might depend what's in your contract on this one.
Yes.
Because if it's like, we will refund you due to inclement weather, then you have to refund them legally.
Well, and that's one of those classic like acts of God things.
Acts of God, yeah.
This is what it's for.
Yep.
This is what acts of God are for. It's typically weather.
Yep.
Or war or things like that.
Oh yeah, my favorite.
And so, I think usually though that means impossible to have a wedding, which is people are misusing that for COVID. It was like, no, they weren't. It's not an act of God because they can get married legally, and they can't. Like nothing's preventing it. But like the day in Newport, the city of Newport closed,
flooded.
They literally legally said, the city of Newport said, no one can do business in Newport. We are closing. And everything is canceled. Every business had to close. Like it was a act of the government.
Yeah.
In that case, we probably would have had to legally refund them.
Yes.
But it never came to that.
Right.
Because whatever.
And also, could someone say the same thing if they were like, our wedding is happening outside and it rained?
No.
Right?
No, because you can.
Well, but that's an act of God because
God
rained.
Because God controls the weather, and so like that's acts of God. Because like, God makes weather.
Yeah, we couldn't have our wedding due to the fact that it was raining. I think it's important to kind of be a little bit more.
Yeah,
maybe
you
more
have to
clear.
like think through like what do you mean can't?
Yes.
Literally can't means legally can't. It doesn't
legally,
mean
physically.
Didn't like it.
Yeah.
No, legally can't, not physically.
Well, like if you physically can't make it to the space
That's
due
not
to a mudslide or something.
No, that's still not an act of God. It kind of depends. Like, are you saying the mudslide wiped out the venue?
Well, so this is what happened to me last year. I went snowboarding in Mammoth, right? We had to reschedule our trip because Mammoth got about 10 feet of snow in like a day, and we weren't able to get up there. They closed all the roads off.
You think they gave refunds?
Well, yeah, we ended up getting a refund from our Airbnb. We did because we pushed them on
I'm talking
it.
like the ski resort.
The ski resort. No,
the ski resort sold a bunch of tickets.
I bet they did actually. If they were closed, I think they would have to.
Yeah, they would.
I think they would have to.
But I'm saying like with
we
weddings,
eventually were able to get our money back from Airbnb because they were like, yeah, like all the roads are legally closed off. They would have to snowshoe for 100 miles to get to this place.
I think the issue here is like with weddings is always err on the side of what can we do for you, and if it comes down to, no, we're just not going to get married at all, and like I would refund it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I would just say, please be patient.
Yeah.
Like I would do it. I would make sure that my refunds didn't have timelines on them, and I would make sure the person understood when I was going to do it, and that even if I could just give them the money the next day, that I don't have to.
I think it's totally fair to even put in your contract, if you have an act of God, weather related, that we will be willing to reschedule to any date that we are available for. And that's an important part of it too. It's not just we will reschedule to whatever date you're available for. It's we're mutually available for. So you have to, so if you reschedule on a date that I already have a wedding, you're not going to get a refund. So talk to me before you schedule it. Otherwise, I'm not going to give you a refund.
I'm going to throw a scenario at you then, and
Yeah.
then we'll end on this one because
Okay.
I'll give you a spicier one.
Okay.
Um,
Say the photographer and the groom were having an affair. And
no, what if someone called you and said, we can't have the wedding because the wedding venue is haunted? We found out. and
it happens.
And we're not going to do it because we found out the wedding venue is haunted, and the spirit told us that we have to break up our marriage because actually that was my the spirit is my ancestor, and they told me all this. Would you refund them?
I would say make sure to send the ghost a summons to our court date.
Yes. Okay. So what we would force her to do is, and this would be, if this happens, guys, I promise you this wedding film school video will be released.
We'll do a BTS of it.
Yes. We will say, yes, I will refund you all the money, but you have to host a seance at the venue, summon your relative, and they have to tell us that they don't want to do this wedding. And if they appear and tell us, I will not only give you a refund, I'll double your money. I will double your refund if your dead relative shows up and tells us that this wedding should not proceed.
Yes. I would be on board with you. This is why we're such great business partners.
So
We
yes,
just think alike.
our answer is, in an indirect way, we would definitely refund because of haunting.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, guys, hopefully this has been fun, but also informative and help you maybe navigate some situations that some of these, like we actually have gone through in our 14 years of running a wedding film business. And others are probably maybe a little bit more abstract. But
Or mystical.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think running a business is hard, right? It's
Refunds
hard.
suck too.
Everyone dreads that email. It ruins your day when you get an email from someone who wants a refund. But just realize, if you haven't gotten one of these emails yet, you're probably a fairly new person, because I feel like everyone deals with this, right? And there's a lot of different ways you can go with it. It's a little bit confusing. Legality is just, there's a lot to it. It's very nuanced, and there's whole professions that are just law dealing with this. I think Jason and I have a lot of experience just dealing with people. And so, yeah, hopefully this has just been a look into our minds. It's important to have these kind of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We're very lucky because we have these conversations with each other.
Wow.
If I don't know how to approach something, I'm always like, Jay, what do you think of this? This is crazy, right?
Well, and I'm not directly involved, so I'm not usually mad.
Yeah, I'm emotionally attached to these situations. So having someone who's like, no, we're not doing that, or yeah, maybe we should. It's like, oh yeah, should we? I guess you're right. But yeah, I would say.
I think that's a key point. And we can end with this: is whenever this stuff comes up, it's a classic thing. It's just like with your wife, right, or any person in your life. Be very careful talking to people when you're angry, or upset, or offended. It's one thing when you have intimacy with someone, because sometimes that's good to talk to them when you're mad, because they get to know your real feelings. And that's important. This is why I am always pushed back on that. These people are your friends or anything more than your clients. Because a friend would let you be mad, would let you misspeak, and they wouldn't punish you. These are not your friends. If you slip up at all, they will punish you. Maybe not always, but many of them will. And so always err on the side, like especially in writing. If you can't think of something that sounds diplomatic, come back and write it. But the last thing I'll say too is, but not too long. Like, I think you got to get back to someone within 24 hours.
Well, I was going to say, you could be like any good husband and just ignore the situation and shut down all communication. You know, I think that's
great for marriage. It's
great
probably
for
really
marriage.
good for running a business. But it's just like, in general, it's like, yeah, like, don't just realize that, like, no amount of money is worth giving someone enough ammunition to destroy your reputation online.
Yep.
Like that, like, it's not like that's likely, but it could happen.
Yep. So if we didn't discuss maybe a situation that you're going through in regards to refunds, make sure to post your situation on the Wedding Film School Facebook group. That's a great place where we have a lot of very seasoned, very experienced professionals who can give their opinion. And just any kind of question relating to wedding filmmaking, that's a great resource. Make sure you join the Wedding Film School Facebook group. We also have 2 YouTube channels, Wedding Film School and the Wedding Film School Show, which is the show you're currently listening to. Wedding Film School is kind of your more traditional YouTube videos, behind the scenes of real wedding days.
Crap videos for losers.
Yeah, so go there if you're a garbage crap loser. And then also Wedding Film School Live, which is the live show that Jay and Bobby do every Thursday.
Except for last week or this week.
Every single week, unless otherwise notified. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then also make sure you guys are checking out weddingfilm.school, our website. That's where you can submit your own wedding film and have Jason and Bobby critique it on the Wedding Film
And we
School
need some
show.
questions. Head over there and /AMA. Submit some questions for the podcast.
That's it. So hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time on the Wedding Film School Show.